this is a very, very important discussion. Of course, the next few lectures are going to be very important because that will help you in understanding the operational amplifier, the internals of operational amplifier. And of course, if you know the internals of operational amplifier, you can work very easily with all the op-amp related circuits. All right. So please pay full attention to whatever I say. All right. So the other day before yesterday, yesterday's was a multi-sim session. So today, the day before that, we looked at the block diagram, internal block diagram of operational amplifier, and we said that there are there are two stages for voltage amplification: the input stage and the intermediate state. Then we have what is called as a level shifting stage, which necessarily is an emitter follower, and output stage, which is a complementary class AB amplifier. Okay, and we have also said that why we cannot use common emitter amplifier as the input stage and the intermediate state. Okay, so we'll just summarize those things here so that it will be easier for you to understand. So we expect basically that op-amp is to have yes, what are the features? What are the important things that we have discussed? Number one, high input impedance. Two, very high gain. And three, very low output impedance. We will start with these three basic things. Okay, that is what our operational amplifier is expected to have. And of course, we have said that some additional things, like to increase the versatility of the device, we must have dual inputs. Do you remember what was the problem with the single input amplifier? Do you remember that? We discussed that bridge, sensor bridge, and we said that you cannot use a single stage common emitter amplifier, specifically the common emitter amplifier, we cannot use directly. Okay. So the limitations, just I'll list down the limitations of common emitter amplifier. Number one, dual inputs are not present. Number two, we have already seen, we require a large bypass capacitor. If you remember, which bypass capacitor? The one which is in parallel with RE. Okay, and we have a limited gain. So these are the basic limitations of common emitter amplifier, and hence we cannot use the common emitter amplifier for stage, this input stage and the intermediate stage also. So the alternative circuit, or the very interesting circuit that we are going to use, is called as a differential amplifier. Okay, so we use what is called as a differential amplifier because it has, number one, good bias stability. Number two, it has got a good gain. And does not require bypass capacitor. This is interesting because number one, you can easily condense, you can easily use this circuit for the integration, that is in integrated circuits. So whenever we talk about integrated circuits, you have to avoid the capacitors. Okay, you can have resistors, you can have obviously the transistors and all that, but you cannot have capacitors and you cannot have inductors. So inductors and capacitors are to be avoided when we go for the integrated circuits. Okay. So before we start with the differential amplifier, there are a couple of things that require to be understood, and it starts with the BJT models. We have already seen one particular model. Okay. Now, one earliest model which normally is taught in the lower classes is called as the Haber-Moll model. This is the simplest model of the. See, remember, we have already seen the hybrid equivalent circuit and all those things. The models we have seen, if you remember, we have used extensive analysis using the H parameters and all that. That was one type of model. Now, this is another model, and if you look at the basic DC model, that is the transistor, bipolar junction transistor, how it behaves in case of DC signals. So we have such a kind of model which you may have not come across. Emitter, okay, and this is 0.7 volts, which actually, if you understand it properly, it will be something like this. This is the representation of the VBE, okay, and then we have this collector current IC equal to beta times IB. This is one type of model, and then we have the emitter current like this. So this is called as the Haber-Moll model. Of course, this is the DC case. Now, a similar kind of AC case, which is called as the forward active Haber-Moll model. Okay, it looks like this. Do you remember what is this symbol? What is this symbol, guys? It is a current source, fine, but it has got a special symbol here. We have already seen
control.
Yes, absolutely correct. It is a current control. Okay. And why we are putting it like this here? Because in bipolar junction transistor, the base current, okay, this base current is the one which controls the collector current. So as if we are having a current controlled current source, this control is by with the help of the base current. Okay, na? So we can have a forward model like this, just a small modification. What I'm doing is I'm replacing this with the help of a diode. That's all. So this is the collector, this is the emitter. Okay, this is emitter current. Of course, this is still DC. This is your collector current, and this collector current is given as IS, very, very important equation, into e to the power VBE by VT minus 1. This is one of the most important equations that you will ever see. All right?
Yes, sir.
And don't you think this is very, very similar to the diode equation that we have seen? The forward diode current is equal to the reverse saturation current into e to the power Vd by eta Vt minus 1. Isn't it similar? Absolutely, it is going to be similar because again it is a junction diode, junctions which are coming into picture. Okay, so this is the basic diode equation, also called as the Shockley equation. Okay, so it is very similar to that. In fact, it is same, as you can see, very well see over here. Okay, so once you know these models, we can put it in terms of the various configurations. Of course, we need not go into all the configurations. What we are interested is in only the common emitter equivalents. Okay, so we'll see the common emitter form of Ebers-Small model. Yes, and I can say here that this diode current IDE is nothing but IC by alpha. Okay, this is ID. Okay, Ebers-Small model. This is for forward active operation. So let me draw that model for you. This is going to be the base. Then we have such a kind of thing. It's only a variation in the way in which you put it, because we want to show that it is a common emitter model. This is going to be IB. This is IC, we already know, which is equal to IS into e to the power VBE by VT minus 1. By the way, what is this VT? Guys, what is this VT? Come on guys, answer me. Guys, am I audible?
Equivalent voltage.
Yes, absolutely correct. So it is the what? Voltage equivalent of temperature. And how is it? What does it? What type of equation does it have? K into T by Q, where K is the Boltzmann constant, Q is the electronic charge, T is the temperature of the junction in Kelvin. Remember that. And for room temperature, so you can just, this K is constant, Q is constant, so this turns out to be T by 11,600. And of course, what are the units? Units are in volts. Remember that, since it is voltage equivalent. Okay, at room temperature T equal to 27 degrees Celsius, this VT turns out to be nearly equal to 26 millivolts. Just remember. Okay. So all the things are really simple here. This beta IB is equal to IC by beta. Okay, so this is called as a Ebers-Small model. Now there are other types of other models also. There is something called as, just for your information, I'm going to put down other type of model which is called as a RE model. This is for common emitter, of course. So it looks like this. This is going to be the base. This is going to be the emitter. This is going to be the collector. This is your IV. Now this thing is called as beta into Re. This is again beta into IB. And you have something called as the output resistance RO. This is another type of model which is extensively used. In many of the books, you'll see that they go for the analysis of the amplifiers using this RE model. Okay, just to make you aware of that, there is another model for transistor, bipolar junction transistor available. And the third type we have already seen, which is the hybrid equivalent model, that is the H parameter equivalent model. Okay, just for the sake of revision, H parameter model. This is, of course, we are talking about common emitter here. So you have already seen this. We have used this many times. So it should not be a big surprise for you. Yes, what is this component? H parameter equivalent. Guys, so common emitter. Guys, yes,
Sir, current
it's going to be
control.
yes. This parameter, this resistor, what was it called as?
Sir, RS.
HIE. Then this was 1 by HOE. What about this? This was HREBCE. And what about this? HFE into IB. Okay? Do you remember
Yes,
that?
sir.
Now it is going to be
Yes,
a
sir.
very bad thing if you go on forgetting these basic things. It is going to be a disaster. So please make sure that you understand, you remember all these things, because these are the basic things which will always be required. Okay? So I'll just summarize this. Okay, I really need not summarize that. Let us go on to let's go on to the differential amplifier now, which is the most important thing. The differential amplifier. Let me draw the circuit so that it will be clear. Always draw a very big circuit so that you can label them properly. One of you have got a microphone which is on. Please switch it off or mute it. It's giving me a lot of noise. Guys,
Sir,
somebody has got a microphone on which is noisy microphone. Okay, fine. That did the job. All right. An interesting circuit, this one. Okay, let me draw a little bit bigger version. Okay. Then I have, so here we have the inputs. This is going to be plus VCC. Interestingly, this is going to be minus VEE. As I said, this uses dual polarity power supply. Okay. Then we have our source. Of course, I will draw the source with a different color so that it will not get confused. This is RS. This is also RS. Here the input is V1. Here it is V2. Okay. Then we have the outputs. Like this. Usual collector outputs at the collector. We call this as VO1. We call this as VO2. And of course, you can have another pair of output, another output, which is between these two terminals. You can take the output as VO1 minus VO2. This is going to be Q1, this is going to be Q2, this is RC, this is also called as RC. You have the collector current IC1, here the collector current here called as IC2. This point is very important. Here we have the voltage which is equal to VE. The emitter current flows like this. We are going to see why it does like that. This is called as IEE. This is your RE. Okay, let me not confuse you at this point of time, so I'll just keep the directions same as this. All right, so this is plus minus VBE1. This is plus minus VBE2. All right. Anything that is remaining? Okay, this is the IB1. This is going to be IB2. Now, if you measure the voltage with respect to ground, we'll call this as VB1. Similarly here, with respect to ground, it will be VB2. Okay, is the circuit diagram clear to all of you? At least. This is the differential amplifier, and it forms the first and the second stages of the operational amplifier. Now, if you measure the difference between these two, all right. So, what do you see? What do you see here? It consists of, differential amplifier consists of two transistors. So we'll write it down so that you'll be able to understand it clearly. So it consists of two transistors which are emitter coupled. It simply means that both the emitters are connected together and the common point is connected to the negative power supply. Remember always that these transistors are identical. Very, very important. When we say transistors are identical, what do you mean by that? It simply translates to the characteristics and the parameters are same. Well, almost same. Remember that we cannot have exact same parameters, exact same characteristics with the transistors because of the fabrication process. But we can fabricate identical transistors if they are manufactured, if they are fabricated on a single die. Okay, at the same time. So I'll just manufacture two transistors on the same chip, for example, and it is expected that these two transistors will have identical parameters. Now, interestingly, the basic requirement of any differential amplifier is that these two transistors must be identical. Okay, is that clear? Guys, are you there with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Pay attention, be attentive. This is a very, very important thing that we are studying. Okay. Now, the main property of the differential amplifier is that the output is proportional to the difference between V1 and V2. Where is V1? This is the V1. This is V2. So the basic operation says that the output is proportional to the difference between V1 and V2. And that is where it gets the name differential amplifier. So you can see here for two inputs. So the basic thing is that it has got two inputs. This is one input and this is the another input. Okay. So for two inputs or two input signals, V1 and V2, there can be or there are three possible outputs, namely VO1, VO2, and you can also have VO1 minus VO2, 1, 2 and 3. So it depends on how you use it. I can have output voltage VO1, I can have output voltage at VO2, and I can even have output voltage VO1 minus VO2. Okay? Okay up to this point, guys?
Yes, sir.
See, if you are stuck with any particular point, please stop me there so that I can explain it once again, because this is very important. I'm going very slow here so that it will be easier for you to understand things. All right. Now, again, there are two types of input signals. Types of input signals. Since there are two input signals, no, V1 and V2, there will be two types of input signals. Okay, for this differential amplifier, one is called as the differential mode, and the second one is called as the common mode. So you can have differential mode signal and common mode signal both. Very simple to understand. Differential mode signal is nothing but which is your VD, which is V1 minus V2, or conversely it can be V2 minus V1, doesn't matter. What is this? This is the input signal, which is the difference between the input voltages. What about the common mode signal? It is the average of the two signals, two input voltages. So VC will be V1 plus V2 by 2. Okay, fine up to this point. Guys?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So V1, V2 and V1 can be expressed as functions of VD and VC. So expressing V2 and V1 as functions of VD and VC. We have seen what is VD, so we will take up this for the sake of following it in a proper manner. We call it as V2 minus V1, doesn't matter. Okay, so this was your VD, this was your VC. Now, can I express this V1 and V2 in terms of functions of VD and VC? Definitely we can. So I can have VD is equal to, yes, V2 minus I just want to convert this. So substituting for VC, I will substitute, or for V1. For V1, I will substitute using this equation. What I will do, this will be 2 VC is equal to V1 plus V2. So I can have V1 as what? 2 VC minus V2. I will substitute this value here in this equation. V2 minus 2 VC plus V2. Remember, I want the value of V2 here. So VD is 2 V2 minus 2 VC. So I want to find out V2. Yes.
So can you repeat the last point expressing
Sorry?
V2 and V1 as so can you please repeat the last point that which you wrote expressing V2 and V1 as functions of VD and VC?
Yes. So what I am doing is I am just simply finding out equations for V2 and V1. That's all. And for doing that, I am simply using these equations which we have already seen, differential mode here like this equation and this equation I am using. These two equations I am using and simply substituting. So from this, I can get the value of V1, substitute over here, and that is what I am doing right now. All right. So what do I get as V2? We'll get VC plus VD by 2. Verify this. Call this equation A. Is this fine? Guys?
Yes, sir.
Should be very, very straightforward, na? And in a similar way, I can have V1 as VC minus VD by 2. Do this on your own. It's a very simple exercise. Call this equation B. So what have we done here? What have we done? Input voltages can be expressed or are expressed in terms of differential and common mode voltages. Nothing great. I'm just expressing it in terms of VC and VD because VC and VD form a very, very important part which you will see later on. Now, if V1 is equal to V2, what do we have? If I substitute V1 equal to V2, what will be the value of VD? Guys? if both the voltages are equal, what is VD?
0.
0.
So VD is equal to VC by 2.
Yes. Equal to 0. It is going to be equal to 0. If V1 equal to V2, use this equation. The very first thing, this one.
Yes, sir.
V2 minus
V2
V1
yes,
is
sir,
going to
yes,
be
V1.
Yes, sir.
0.
V2
Okay.
minus V1.
And what is going to be the value of
Yes,
VC?
sir, yes, sir.
What is going to be the value of VC? It is going to be either V1 or also equal to V2. Because you said that it is nothing but the average of the two signals, right?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it fine? Now, if V1 is equal to
Absolutely.
minus V2, what will be the value of VD? See here. What will be the value of VD if V1 is equal to minus V2? It is going to be twice V2.
2v2.
Alright? You can call this also as minus 2V1.
Yes, sir.
And what is going to be VC?
0.
0. Please remember this. These things are very important. In the normal operation, so in the normal operation, of the differential amplifier, DA, I'm going to call it as. The difference mode is or differential mode is the desired signal. Very, very important. And common mode signal is to be rejected. Remember this very carefully. So whenever you want to use the differential amplifier, the difference mode of differential mode voltage is the desired signal, whereas the common mode signal is to be rejected or attenuated. Okay. All right. So going back to the figure over here, if you apply KVL for the two base emitter loops. Okay, one more important thing. Do you, for this particular circuit, do you observe any biasing resistors? Do you see any biasing resistors? Guys,
Sir.
are there any biasing resistors?
No, sir.
No. Then how is it possible for us to bring the transistors in active region? Without the biasing resistors, how is it possible? Yes? In fact, you can break this down into two such circuits. I'm drawing only one of them. This is your RC, this is RE. This is going to be VCC, this is going to be minus VEE. Don't forget this minus sign. So how is it that the transistor is in the active region without any biasing resistor? Because if the DC value, if I keep this even at 0, how will the base emitter be forward biased? Guys, how will the base emitter be forward biased? Remember, we had the biasing. While biasing the circuit, what we did was the very first unit that you studied in EDA, that it was something like this. So this voltage was very important, VB, isn't it? And this was possible. We saw that it was like this. And so since this base VB, this is VE, and obviously we saw that VB is 0.7 plus VE. That is of course VBE plus VE. So you required some substantial voltage here, no, to forward bias the base emitter diode and thus make sure that the transistor goes into the active region. Right? Guys, please respond. This is very important concept. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What is the scenario here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Potential than the emitter. In this case, if the base is grounded, grounded means 0 volts. So, is this forward biased diode? B base emitter, is it forward biased?
Yes, sir.
How?
Base is a greater potential than emitter.
Yes, absolutely correct. So people normally tend to forget that we are talking here about a negative voltage which is lower with respect to the ground or 0 volts. And still that is the reason why we are going to have this base emitter diode forward biased. And so we can make sure that this particular transistor is in the active region. Have all of you understood this? Guys?
Yes, sir.
It seems very trivial, but many people miss this point. So no problem. We have already said that we have done away with the biasing resistors. By the way, I had introduced one circuit, one biasing configuration as an extra reading for you. Content beyond syllabus. Do you remember that? In EDA, while studying the biasing circuits, I had introduced one additional biasing arrangement, which we called as a split supply biasing or the dual supply biasing or the dual polarity biasing. This is exactly the same. This is the same thing. So we need not use R1 and R2, the biasing resistors, for biasing this particular configuration, the transistor. Okay? Because of that, two important things have happened. What are they? If we have eliminated R1 and R2, immediately two interesting things have happened. What are they? Guys, first of all, we have reduced the number of components. Isn't it? Two resistors have simply been eliminated. Okay? Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
And there is one more thing which is also very interesting. What is that? If you remember, the AC equivalent of our common emitter amplifier, when we were drawing the AC equivalent like this, I'm not going to draw the entire thing. Okay, it doesn't matter if you do that. So this was the AC equivalent. This was HI and so on and so forth. And then this was for the amplifier I am talking about. This was RC. This was 1 by HOE. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And there was something here. What was that?
RE.
Okay, for the bypassed one. This was R1, this was R2. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And when we calculated or computed the input impedance, this R1, R1, R2, those were coming in parallel. Okay? Isn't it? And a parallel combination of resistors is going to be smaller. You cannot increase the value of R1, R2 to a large value. Otherwise, what happens? Now this is very deep. Of course, we are bypassing it, so it doesn't matter for RE. But here, R1, R2, you couldn't make this R1 and R2 very large values because this base current and this current I2, we already saw that this I2 or whatever you call it as has to be greater than 10 times IB, so that there is no loading effect on this point. So you cannot make R1, R2 very large. If you make R1, R2 very large, this is going to be a problem. If you make R1, R2 small, your input impedance is going to be a problem. Your input impedance of the amplifier will reduce. And what have we said about voltage amplifiers? The input impedance should be as high as possible. So this is a compromising situation. I cannot decrease R1, R2 beyond a certain level. I cannot increase R1, R2 beyond a certain level. So with this particular scheme, I have eliminated these two problems. That is, I have actually reduced the number of components and I have completely done away with this compromising situation. So I am expecting that since there are no R1, R2 here, I am expecting the input impedance not to be compromised by an external resistor. Are you able to understand this, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I think before going for the next part, which is going to be a little bit slightly mathematical, I will stop here for today and let you reconcile on what we have done so far. We have been introduced to a new type of circuit now, and it is called as the differential amplifier. Now, please remember at this point of time, I want to tell you all that there is another configuration of operational amplifier which by mistake people call as differential amplifier. Okay, that differential amplifier is different than this differential amplifier. That is a mistake. Calling it as differential amplifier is a mistake. That is called as a difference amplifier, and for reasons that we will see later on. So don't confuse. On internet and all those websites, they use this differential amplifier and difference amplifier as the same types of amplifiers, which will land you in trouble. So we are going to follow one simple convention, and that is this type of amplifier is called as a differential amplifier. And whenever we'll see that other type of amplifier, of course, this is with using the operational amplifier as a building block. Okay, that is different. We'll deal with it later on. Okay, so today what we did was we saw the new things that we saw today. What were the new things that we saw today? The BJT models. Okay, we have seen the Ebers-Moll model. of a bipolar junction transistor. We have seen its common emitter model, common emitter form. Interestingly, we have seen that this is the equation which governs the collector current. IC is equal to Is into e to the power VBE by Vt minus 1. Just remember that. Then we have seen another model called as the RE model, which is used by many books and in Western universities, mostly in US. This RE model is more preferred for some other reasons. Okay. Then we already have studied the H parameter model, so just was a revision to that. And then we got introduced to the differential amplifier. We'll continue using exploring this differential amplifier in the subsequent lectures. Okay. Now somebody will ask me, this is not there in the syllabus, so why are we doing it? And the simple reason for that is, without differential amplifier, you will not be able to understand anything as far as operational amplifier is concerned. And that is the reason why we have to take a deep dive into this beautiful okay. And then we said that we introduced ourselves to the concept of two types of signals, the differential mode signal and the common mode signal. We expressed the input voltages in terms of the common mode signal and the differential mode signal. We also said that in the normal operation of differential amplifier, the difference mode is the desired signal. That is the difference mode signal, or difference mode voltage is the desired signal which we want to amplify, and the common mode signal is the one which we are supposed to reject. Okay, so just in continuation with that, I will say that my differential mode gain should be as high as possible, and common mode gain should be as low as possible. This is what is the takeaway for today. Okay, guys?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts, any questions up to this point?
Sir, why differential mode gains will be high as possible?
We'll see in more details why it is there. But the thing is that we want to amplify whatever is the difference between these two. The name of the amplifier itself is differential amplifier. So we want that whatever signal is that whatever is the difference between these two input signals, that only has to be amplified. Whatever is the common mode or common signal, it should be rejected or should be attenuated. Now think of it in this way, that your input signal, these two input signals, they are generating or they have same type of noise. Okay, so both will generate same type of noise. These are simply sources. Okay, these are not components per se. They will come from anywhere. The sources, the source voltages will come from anywhere, and they have a lot of noise because they are coming from the same environment. So they will have a lot of noise, and this noise happens to be the common mode signal. Okay, the noise happens to be the common mode signal. So do you want to amplify the noise or the signal?
Signal.
Obviously. So we want the common mode signal, which is the noise in this case, most of the cases, that will have to be attenuated. Whereas the differential mode signal, which is actual information, that is what we want to amplify. Got it now?
Yes, sir.
Good. So I think we have already exceeded the time limit. So I will stop here.